Hello and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News with Newshawks, Reverend Kelly, and myself, Bell Graham. We are live here at the Legacy420.com news desk, and we are live on the network's Facebook pages, YouTube, Twitter location, CBG TV, and the list goes on, doesn't it, Kelly?
Wow, we're everywhere. Look,
we're everywhere.
We're new and we're fresh.
That's right.
We're looking good. Look at our sharp new picture in the background there.
Yes. Yeah. You see there's a little mushroom up there in the corner.
Oh, I know. It's so important.
That's right. There is. There's so much news in psychedelics and cannabis that we could do a show a week if we had the time.
Wow.
And the people to do it.
Yeah. We need both.
We need both.
Yeah.
So for now, we have the two news programs broadcast Monday and Thursday at 10, and both of them will be touching on psychedelics as well as cannabis educational news. Right?
It's wonderful.
That's right. Exactly. So we've got some changes. The way that we do things. Obviously, we got a different logo on the background. We got some different audio going on, and we got a different way we're doing our news stories as far as when it comes to the order of them. So shall we get started?
Absolutely.
All right. First story up is Health Canada gets backlash from industry experts for Cannabis Act Review Panel member selection. This is in Mugglehead magazine. I know, Kelly, there was a lot of people that were scratching their heads going, what? Yeah. What do you mean there's 3 mental health people and 2 lawyers on the committee?
Right. They've announced the experts. It's part of the review of the Cannabis Act. Some experts in the industry say that they're disappointed with the constitution of the panel as it lacks public health and industry expertise representation. So that's what the backlash is about.
Exactly. And on Thursday, Ministry of Health, Jean-Ve Duclos, and Minister of Health, Mental Health and Addictions and Associate Minister of Health, Carolyn Bennett, announced the 5 members that will provide the ministers with updates on the Act's review progress and identify potential areas for improving the legislation.
The independent panel will be led by Morris Rosenberg and comprised of Dr. Ian Rinde is the last name, Dr. Patricia J. Conrad, Linda L. Levesque, and Dr. Peter Selby.
Now, according to Rosenberg, he says it's a great pleasure to begin working with the members of the expert panel. Each member brings a wealth of experience and knowledge, which will be essential as we conduct a thorough independent review of the Cannabis Act.
Health Canada says the ministers have selected individuals to represent and advocate for Canada's diversity with significant public sector expertise in public health and justice, and expertise engaging with Indigenous communities and organizations.
Now, the agency says the ministers have taken a number of factors for deciding on the panel, such as geography, expertise, and demographic representation.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I know. I don't get it either. Yeah, the panel member announcement sparked conversation on social media among experts and other stakeholders in the industry expressed concerns over social media about the selection, arguing more experts in the cannabis industry are needed.
Right. Cannabis lawyer Tina Fraser said that while the expertise on harms was needed, public health and industry expertise is lacking. And I'd have to agree, Al.
Big time. Public health objectives will not be achieved if the industry doesn't work. Policy decisions must take into account the corresponding effects of regulations on the illicit market and its harm, according to Ms. Fraser.
Wow. Okay, I hope the panel will heavily engage with stakeholders and public health experts to fill their perspective gaps in the panel and prevent it from becoming an anti-cannabis echo chamber, she added. Well, that's what it sounded like immediately. I was like,
Yeah,
what? Who are they?
exactly.
They're not biased at all, I'm sure.
Panel members will engage with the public, governments, indigenous peoples, youth, marginalized and radicalized communities, cannabis industry representatives, and people who access cannabis for medical purposes to gather their perspectives on the act.
They will also meet and consult with experts in relevant fields, including public health, substance use, criminal justice, law enforcement, indigenous governance, and rights in healthcare.
Now it goes through all the different
Hmm.
things, all the different people, and all their backgrounds and everything. As you scroll down through there,
Sure.
and yeah, there's one thing that I found really interesting, or actually, I should say odd, is that they said that part of this review is going to include the home growing of cannabis. You tell me three mental health experts and addiction experts have any knowledge on home growing of cannabis?
Well, that's what I'm thinking because it's still taught that cannabis is addictive. It's still taught that you can become reliant in an addictive way to cannabis. And that's what I'm going to guess they're going to come from that perspective if they're addiction doctors. And so to me, when I heard this, I was like, we've got law enforcement individuals, we've got doctors that are dealing with addictions. I could only hope that they would say that it was for harm reduction. Perhaps cannabis can be used for championing cannabis, but I'm afraid of what they're going
Uh,
to come up with, Al.
well, I
Isn't
look
that
at the mental health people should find that the growing of cannabis at home is very therapeutic for people.
I hope
And
so.
I should also find they should also find that growing of cannabis is addictive because you just want to keep doing it and just keep growing those little flowers.
That's a wonderful way to put it. You become addicted to growing it. Absolutely do. And the connection that
Right.
people receive with those plants is a wonderful, beautiful
Yeah.
thing. So let's just hope
Now I
the
know some
panel
people
will.
yeah, do good. But some people seem to think that this is just a portion and there's going to be more later.
Okay.
But I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay.
See what happens down the road.
All right.
All right. On to the next story. As we know, reviews going on. Question 5.2. Next story. Headline says, does Canada's shrinking medical cannabis market offer lessons for other nations?
Okay. Canada's regulated medical cannabis market has dwindled significantly from its peak, declining well before recreational cannabis legalization in October 2018, and continuing that downward trend as adult use sales displaced purchases through regulated medical channels.
Experts say factors behind the medical market's decline includes the convenience of shopping at adult use stores, challenges for doctors in authorizing medical cannabis, a lack of tax advantages for medical cannabis patients and suppliers, and THC potency limits that apply to both recreational and medical cannabis products.
Excellent points, right across the
Yeah.
board there. Excellent points. Now, those issues might offer lessons for other nations and jurisdictions that legalize medical cannabis first, followed by adult use legalization.
Yep. In Canada, spending on medical cannabis products peaked about a year before recreational cannabis sales began, reaching $161 million in the fourth quarter of 2017, according to Statistics Canada. And the most recent data shows medical cannabis sales totaled $109 million in the second quarter after hitting a low of 104 in the first quarter.
Okay,
They're
okay.
dropping.
Right. Brett Settle, who's the president and CEO of Saskatoon's Saskatchewan-based medical cannabis company, says right now what's happening is that the patients they just give up and they just go buy something from an adult use store. That's
Mm,
he's preparing to go public with his reverse takeover soon.
yeah. And so they're self-medicating without any proper oversight whatsoever, is what he's saying. Canada was the first major global to legalize cannabis. However, mature cannabis markets in the states such as Colorado have exhibited a similar dynamic, with medical markets shrinking after recreational legalization.
Okay, and those trends suggest a similar medical market decline could occur in Germany, which is Europe's biggest cannabis market, if that country follows through on its adult use legalization plan. It's coming soon,
Yeah.
too.
Here's some stuff that the review panel might want. Canadians wishing to access medical cannabis products such as dried cannabis, edibles, oils, and topicals through the government system require an authorization by a physician or nurse practitioner allowing to buy the products. And home cultivation is permitted, as is sourcing supply. They said only about 42,000 individuals produce medical cannabis for themselves or others as of the end of 2021.
Mm. In comparison, there were roughly 257,000 registrations to buy cannabis from a commercial producers. Individuals can register with more than one producer, of course. Several factors might explain why the Canadian medical cannabis market has declined from its 2017 peak, according to Zettel, a longtime presence in Canada's regulated industry.
Yeah, head of recreational legalization in October 22, Zettel said Canada's medical cannabis patient population included both true medical users and some recreational users. He says they would try to get it legitimately and then still use it recreationally.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Now, he said using the formal medical cannabis stream has become inconvenient compared to buying cannabis in an adult use store. Okay. He also believes that doctors might not want to spend time filling out medical cannabis authorization paperwork, and that physicians who authorize cannabis for too many patients could face unwanted audits by medical certification bodies. Oh, my.
Well, we all know that we know that they will face from a headwind against these regulatory bodies because we've seen it happen.
Yep.
Dr. Cameraman's. He says if more doctors would sign paperwork, I wouldn't have to do it.
Right.
And what happened to him? They friggin' stripped his license.
Terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Deepak Anon, a board member of the nonprofit Fine. He says pre-recreational legalization, there were a number of challenges with respect to form factors. New forms of cannabis, including edibles, hit the market, and adult use legalization. But medical cannabis products are subject to the same regulations as recreational cannabis, including THC limits on products such as edibles.
Hmm. Holding medical and recreational cannabis to the same standards with respect to putting on limits for high THC, for example, that's a mistake.
It sure is.
Yeah.
He believes Canada has been focused on recreational legalization, that not only have patients been ignored, but also regulatory policy has been ignored to a large extent.
Mm. It would be so nice if, yes, that the other countries will follow suit. They're saying they're going to fall off like Germany, but maybe they'll just learn from our mistakes. Maybe they'll fix those milligram limits. Maybe they'll make it more accessible when you can go to a pharmacy and, just meet
Maybe,
with a pharmacist there and get your medicine. The same way you walk in to a recreational store, well, you can walk into a pharmacy and you can get the information there, and it's just easy. You don't have to go through the hoops and the jumps and these doctors being audited. If it was
yeah,
easier that way, perhaps then, more people would stick
exactly.
with it.
I like what he says and gets going on here. He says Canada offers little in the way of preferential tax treatment for registered medical cannabis patients, although it does permit registered patients to claim medical cannabis expenses on their annual tax return. You get tax back.
Sure.
Patients pay retail taxes on medical cannabis purchases as they would at a recreational store, and producers pay the same excise tax as they would for adult use cannabis. That just doesn't make sense. We
Right.
don't charge tax on any other pharmaceutical product in Canada, and we
Excellent.
don't. And why are
No.
we being charged tax on our
Right.
medicine.
Right. Right. So maybe that's the breaks. Maybe that's the things, the changes that need to be made so that we
Yeah,
can
well,
keep
it's
our medical program.
one of many.
One of
There's no doubt
many.
about
That's
no
right.
doubt about that. It's just yeah, it's sad to be charging patients tax, and it's not right
No.
whatsoever. You know. All right, patients of cannabis. We're going to patients who are dealing with medical mushrooms. And they say here that police will keep raiding Toronto's magic mushroom dispensary if the city doesn't step up, according to experts.
Shroomies. Look at that photo there. That's great. The city
Yeah.
says it has no plans to use its power to shut down Toronto's only magic mushroom dispensary after a Toronto police raid earlier this month, leaving the shop still operating in a kind of gray area.
Yeah. See, the city isn't planning on shutting it down.
No.
Shroomies, dispensary chain that first opened in Ottawa, became Toronto's first mushroom dispensary after opening this September. While the sale of psilocybin is illegal under the Controlled Drug and Substances Act, that hasn't stopped the store from operating out of its Queen Street West location.
Toronto previously saw a situation like this pop up, though
Mhm.
with more city interventions when cannabis retailers rapidly expanded in the region before cannabis was legalized in 2018. Now, this shop is operating in a similar sort of way, filling a void advocates say is sorely needed, though one expert cautions that this could come with a risk for the public.
Paul Lewin, the lawyer who specializes in issues surrounding cannabis and psychedelics, said he wasn't surprised Shroomies had opened in the city, given the current limit access to psilocybin for people who need it for medical purposes. He told CBC News he also thought a crackdown on the dispensary would eventually happen. He says there's a general sense that the law is out of touch. You think so?
Yeah, I think so. Saying many patients who could benefit from medical psilocybin cannot get access with this, and this tends to happen when there's a substance that does a lot of good, and the government is making it very difficult to access it.
Yeah, exactly. As he says,
Yeah.
others will spring up and fill the void. He says, while Shroomies may be the only known psilocybin retail store in the city, signs promoting anonymous online businesses selling magic mushrooms can also be found across Toronto.
Of course. Well, the city of Toronto previously enforced bylaws on illegal cannabis dispensaries before it was legalized in 2018. It has taken a hands off approach in enforcing any bylaws in this case. The city confirmed Shroomies has no business license, but said any crackdown on its operations would be a police matter.
Yep. The city of Toronto does not have the jurisdiction to enforce the Controlled Drug and Substances Act, nor is a business license issued for this type of business, according to Naomi Ahmed, who is a city spokesman. Says the city issues business licenses and permits to certain businesses as specified in the licensing bylaw.
Now, Shroomies manager, who previously spoke to Radio Canada under condition of anonymity, said his store exists as a medical protest. Quoted as
It's,
saying, Shroomies came about in lieu of what we believe to be unfair medical laws around psilocybin and its use, similar to the way cannabis was 4 or 5 years ago. Of course.
our core, exactly. Yep. He says his store sells psilocybin products strictly for medical purposes, though that does not stop recreational users from purchasing from the shop. According to the store's website, customers need to fill out a medical form in the store to buy psilocybin products. And that's how way a lot of the cannabis dispensaries were as
Yep.
well.
Yep. Now, on November 13th, Toronto police executed a search warrant and arrested and charged two men for the first time since the dispensary opened. Police said there is no active investigation into the dispensary at this time, but said they are aware it has since reopened to the public, adding that police enforcement will continue as needed.
Yeah, and so far this year, police have made 38 arrests for charges relating to hallucinogens like psilocybin, LSD, and DMT. There's only been 38 arrests. I think that we've been higher than that.
No. Um, let's see. The Board of Health has not taken a position regarding shroomies. That's according to the Toronto Board of Health said in a statement on Wednesday. So they're not even taking a position on it.
No, but they they says the Toronto Board of Health, which has been vocal in support of decriminalizing possession of small amounts of drugs as a response to the worsening opioid overdose crisis. So they are
Right.
supportive that way.
Yeah, yeah, and it certainly has been said to do that.
Yeah.
They said that in the meantime, the city should look at harm reduction tools that can allow psilocybin to be available in a safe and responsible manner. Ooh.
Yeah. He said that was Paul Lewin. He says it's not like the city has to sit back and do nothing and say, well, it's a crime under federal law and nothing that we can do about it. Actually, there are things they can do about it. All kinds of good harm reduction, he says.
He says if the government wants to fix it, and they should, and what they should do is fix access to medical and access to the drug, creating a good, solid legal alternative. And until they do that, they can expect that this will happen more and more.
Yep. And Health Canada has granted 81 patients exemptions for psilocybin treatment since August of 22 and 19 to healthcare specialists for training purposes. In 2022, only 5 exceptions were granted. Only 5. 16 are under current review. The exceptions are valid for 1-year purposes.
How many do you think applications do you think they have? Hundreds, thousands?
The last I knew, Kelly, in one of our reports said there was 900 people waiting in the background, waiting to come for approvals. They've already submitted their stuff, and they did 5 all of last year.
5.
5.
Yeah, 5. Good job.
Yeah, good way to go. Yeah.
In Canada, there are 3 ways a person can use psilocybin legally: participating in a clinical trial, requesting an exemption under Canada's Controlled Drug and Substance Act, or applying to Health Canada's Special Access Program, which require both a recommendation from a doctor and government approval.
Now, Lewin says that all these methods are deeply flawed. And this line here reflects back to the Terry Parker decision. Even when patients do get approval to use psilocybin by the government, there is no legal way to access it. Exactly. That's what happened to Parker.
Right. So shroomies is needed. Hello. Right.
Yeah. It's needed. So I don't. Any more there you want to touch on?
No, it's a very important article, but it's a little bit long. I think I got everything.
It's just crazy that there is so much running along the same line as the cannabis end of things.
Wow, yeah. But hopefully the mistakes will have been learned, and now that this new industry is coming out, it will be a little less bumpier for the entrepreneurs in the mushroom industry, because we kind of took those hits in the cannabis industry, didn't we? So hopefully they'll learn from our mistakes.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Before we go to break, and headline on it says, federally funded study shows cannabis legalization is not associated with increased teen use. That comes from the Marijuana Moment. So for all those that say, we bring in medical cannabis or legal cannabis, the use is going to go up. Study says otherwise.
What about the kids?
Yeah,
it was right. I don't know. It was a new study funded by the top federal drug agency, and it's a research article published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine early this month. It looked for data from 3 longitudinal studies on past year cannabis consumption and frequency of use among adolescents from 1999 to 2020. Wow, that's a long study. In Oregon, New York, and Washington State. So that's a long time.
Oh, yeah. 2012, 2014. Yeah. With cannabis legalization on the ballot in 5 states across the U.S. this month, opponents have repeatedly made the argument that the reform would lead to more underage people to use cannabis, despite numerous studies contradicting that point.
Wow. So now they're saying no way. This is excellent evidence. Now another study has similarly debunked the argument. Research enters the University of Washington, Colorado State University, and Oregon Social Learning Center, finding that change in legalization status across adolescents was not significantly related to within-person change in the probability or frequency of self-reported past year cannabis use.
Yeah,
Wow!
yeah, exactly. The study, which received funding from the National Institute on Drug Abuse, which is NIDA, showed that youth who spent more of their adolescence under legalization were no more or less likely to have used cannabis at age 15 years than adolescents who spent little or no time under legalization.
So they started this back in 1999 then?
Well, the
1999?
records, yeah, they would probably have records from then on.
Records from then. And so I bet that they were expecting it to come out differently. I bet that
I'm sure
they
that they
were
were.
expecting it,
They've been saying that for years. That it's
right?
going to lead to kids getting to it, and the creed is going to go up. And
Now they're scratching their heads going, "What? The teens
what?
don't
Yeah,
want it? What?
exactly.
What do you mean?"
Yes, exactly.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Let's see what else. They say this builds on another already sizable body of scientific literature that similarly determined that creating regulated cannabis markets for adult either has a neutral effect on underage use or is even associated with its declines in the behavior. Well, it's no longer illegal. It's no longer that. Let's break the law on this thing. You know?
Right. That's so cool. For example, another federally funded study from Michigan State University researchers that was published in the journal PLOS One this summer found that cannabis retail sales might be followed by increased occurrence of cannabis onsets for older adults in legal states, but not for underage persons who cannot buy cannabis products in retail outlets.
Yeah, there's more older people using cannabis. We know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh wow, it's just yeah. They say that we when we do look at our study along with the other studies that we have that have similar questions, the patterns of results so far is encouraging, according to the University of Washington's Jennifer Bailey. She says that that is most studies are not showing increases in teen cannabis use following the legalization of cannabis for adults.
What about the children? I keep hearing them say, "What about the children?" But that's not anybody.
Yeah.
She's cautioning we need to keep monitoring teen cannabis use in the wake of legalization. Okay, saying although things look encouraging now, as we note in our paper, alcohol use increased slowly over 40 years after the end of alcohol prohibition. Yeah. So it may take more time for us to see any effects of legalization on teen cannabis use. Hopefully, trends will continue as they are going now. But if you take an over a decade long study, come
Yeah.
on, that's proof.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you
Interesting.
go. Kids'
Wow.
use isn't increasing just because it was legalized.
Nope. Nope.
No.
Federally funded study.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's time for us to take a break, Kelly. Okay, Rev Kelly and I'll be right back after our break. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News here on the Pace Radio Network.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
In February of 2022, the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club and Ted Smith were fined $6.5 million. This for helping 8,500 patients with access to medical cannabis. In our interview with Ted, he spoke to us about how people can donate to help in an upcoming court challenge. And here is part of that interview. From what I've seen lately, I believe that you've got something that you're trying to do as far as fundraising to deal with this next court challenge.
For now, people can write checks directly to Jack Lloyd Law Corporation or send e-transfers to save the VCBC at gmail.com. I guess those are the two easiest ways for people to help right now.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch, Yes, watch our programming. You'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
Cannabis edibles are an effective way to manage pain and other ailments, especially when you deal with your trusted partner, Legacy 420, in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. You see, we lab test every product on site to ensure proper dosage every time, which is critical when consuming cannabis edibles. All Legacy 420 edibles are made by our classically trained baker and chocolatier, and we also have super tasty vegan options.
Our baker has been in the industry for 25 years. She's also a chocolatier. Everything from savory to sweet, your chocolate bars, brownies, butter tarts, you name it, we make it.
Talk to our knowledgeable Cannatex about our incredible variety available. Give your trusted partners a call. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, we're back. We're live, and we're ready to go. We got more stories to bring you on the medical end and psychedelics and cannabis.
No. I need to talk about that commercial right there for Legacy 420. I think when I'm hungry, I'm not allowed to watch that, Al, because now I can't even imagine. What was that? What did you see all the goodies in that? Oh my goodness.
Yes.
A professional chocolatier and baker, and I'm going, oh my goodness, and all of it's infused.
It's all infused. And they got gluten-free options as well.
Now I'm hungry. Oh goodness. All right. I'll wait. Then I'll go to Legacy 420.
All right. First up for our story, since we're back from the break, is headline says psychedelic mushrooms expand Jamaica tourism beyond sunshine and reggae. You know what I can't figure out, Kelly, is why it didn't say cannabis in that headline.
Ooh, I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, because people go to Jamaica for the cannabis too. So
absolutely. Well, a new group of Jamaican resorts is promoting tourism that offers mystical experiences and stress-free through magic mushrooms as the Caribbean nation seeks to develop a niche industry in natural psychedelics.
Now, while mushrooms containing psychoactive compound psilocybin remains illegal in most parts of Europe and the United States, Jamaica's government has never outlawed psilocybin, magic mushrooms, and is now cultivating investors in efforts to build up its psychedelics industry, which, according to one estimate, could be worth $8 billion by 2028.
Absolutely. Jamaica now has at least 4 psilocybin-focused resorts, 3 of which opened in recent years as the government has warmed to psychedelics and encouraged private investment in the sector.
Yep. Officials at Jamaica's Promotions Corporation, the state agency that promotes cannabis opportunities, see psychedelics as a way to expand the country's tourism industry. According to Gabriel Heron, the agency's vice president of marketing, they say that the opportunity is there. How we position this particular tourism experience will more than likely be aligned with the health and wellness industry.
Oh, I like it. At Myco Meditations, a psychedelic retreat in the town of Treasure Beach on Jamaica's south coast, guests pay as much as $23,500 for a week-long experience involving 3 dosing sessions.
I couldn't believe it when I read that line, Kelly. $23,500 for a week. Tell me what kind of patients got that kind of money.
I was looking to see if Steve's was coming up there. My friend Steve D'Angelo, the great cannabis advocate, has just opened up his retreat there, and it's a fraction of this cost. I was hoping that it would mention it, and of course you can get that on Airbnb, and they're bringing people down, and his is one of these 4 that they're mentioning here. So I'm wondering if it's later on in the article, but that's very high, Al. $23,000. That's like, I don't even know. You could get a car for that. You could get 2 cars for that.
Yeah, exactly. This is crazy. Now, according to a patient by the name of Dean, who lives in South Carolina, he says that I emerged feeling what love is for the very first time in my life.
Oh, that's wonderful, Dean 41. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, he says, what I learned in that week in that retreat would have taken 10 years of talk therapy. He's described it as euphoric, blissful, hopeful, experience in which colors are more vibrant and his body seemed to be releasing deep emotions.
Wow. And you know what? If you have 23 grand, you can't put a price tag on stuff like that. So, if
Yeah,
you got it, go get that kind of healing right there. That's incredible. Now, the use of psilocybin to treat mental health problems such as anxiety or depression is still being studied in clinical trials. Side effects can include panic, fear, nausea, as well as subsequent flashback reactions. Of course it can, but you're not going to die and you're not going to become addicted. So,
yeah. They say that during one of these sessions, we just got a pop-up that came in the way. During one of these sessions, visitors lie on the recliners or yoga mats, listening to music. Groups of up to 12 people, mainly Americans, later described their experiences in the group setting with therapists and counselors. They say almost half of the visitors describing having a mystical experience and noticed a reduction in stress, according to Justin Townsend.
Wonderful. Micro Meditations decides on dosing after deliberating as a team, which includes a U.S. licensed staff, and they make decisions based on criteria such as the client's mental health condition. So we've talked about this in the past before, the micro dose and the macro dose. So it sounds like they sort of meet with you ahead of time and then give you what they think you need.
Yeah.
Brilliant way to do it. Brilliant.
Yeah. Now, according to Townsend, he says it's just absolutely incredible when you see people with 20 or 30 years of anxiety and then it's just gone.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Let's see what's on there. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So Jamaica's the hub for it. And I've been hearing that a lot of people and I know of people that have traveled for this medicine specifically to Jamaica for it. So that's really
and we've
neat
had
to know.
a guest in the past that was part of a retreat for mushrooms. I know that they have
Beautiful.
moved on from there. I don't know if the retreat is still operating, but they themselves have moved on.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So. All right. Next story comes to us from MJ Biz Daily. Headline says Canadian cannabis company Entourage Health is cutting staff and exiting cultivation.
Yep, they're laying off roughly 35% of their staff. They've ended its cultivation operations and sourced adult use and medical cannabis from, I guess, Hico Corporation. That's via a new supply agreement. So that's it.
Yeah. Earlier, Entourage was formerly known as Weed MD, which I had heard of them that way, posted a loss of $17.4 million for the second quarter of September 30 with a revenue of only $13 million.
About 90 employees will be affected as the Toronto-based company phases out cultivation over 5 months as its Ontario facility in Strathroy and Guelph. That's according to a company spokesperson.
Yeah, they say they regret having to make this decision, but the cost to maintain these facilities is no longer viable. Our focus continues to be on producing premium branded products and building our medical and retail distribution networks.
Okay. Let's see. In a statement, the CEO, George Scorsis, said the shift away from cultivation came after a careful review of our operations. He says, regretfully, we realized that given the current cannabis market dynamics of rising costs and price compression, it's no longer viable for us to grow product we can procure at a fraction of the cost at scale with consistent quality. Ouch.
Yeah, I saw that Al Rapp posted a question there over the weekend about, being that electricity is so expensive and the price of a gram of cannabis is so low, is it cheap that he's hearing it's cheaper for people to go to the store than it is to grow it themselves?
Yeah.
I don't know, a quick calculation that I did on that was I saw a store in Peterborough that was advertising ounces at $100. So if you
Yep.
go through an ounce a week, that's $400
Yep.
a month. I
Yep.
don't know. I've never used $400 in electricity to run.
I guess. But then maybe outside with the sunshine is free.
Well, exactly. That's the big thing. One is electricity and one doesn't have electricity. If you can go
Right.
outside.
Yeah. We can only hope that you can, and then
Yeah.
you'd save money.
Yeah. So these guys are going to have gotten a deal with Hiko, and
Yeah.
they'll be buying their products in order to convert it into whatever they're selling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Because
just
it's cheaper for them to buy it than it is for them to grow it.
right. It's just a matter of time before it seems
Yeah.
that they're on
Yeah.
their way out too.
Sure.
Okay. Only the strong will survive.
Yeah. All right. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's what happens. It doesn't matter how big they are; it's how good they are.
Right.
All right. On to the next story. According to Vancouver is awesome. BC cannabis sales hit all-time high in September. Really? In September,
Yeah,
harvest season
They
too.
said, yep. It was just under $60,000 spent in September. Almost 20% more than was spent in
Million.
the same month in 2021. Million. 59 million. Sales were up so slightly more than half of 1% compared with August, which also had strong, surprising cannabis sales.
Yeah, much speculation was made in August that the 2-week British Columbia the union strike had caused the flow of legal cannabis to slow to a trickle, and that consumers might return to buying products from the illicit market.
Right.
But
Stats Canada data, however, showed that this did not happen. British Columbians spent what had been an all-time monthly record of, again, just under $60 million on legal cannabis in August, the nation's number cruncher said.
consumers may have tried to stock up on cannabis products in mid-August by buying whatever legal retailers had on shelves. Many cannabis retailers told BIV in late August that their shelves were nearly bare. The Association of Canadian Cannabis Retailers estimated that about 50 legal cannabis stores were forced to close because they lacked inventory.
Oh my goodness. BC liquor stores suffered widespread product outages in August, but stayed open. I guess they had enough. British Columbians spent nearly $502 million in beer, wine, and spirit store in August. That's 2% more than they did in August of 2021. So I guess their sales went up too.
Yeah.
Alcohol sales went up.
Yeah. Well, here's 389 million. Oh, that's Canada wide. Okay, I was thinking it was almost in par with the British Columbia end of things. Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
BC sales have gone up. I'm surprised by that.
They like their weed.
It sounds like they were too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna get this story going, and then I'm gonna deal with the scratch at the door.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm here.
So
Get
here we
ready.
go. Headline says rats blamed for eating 500 kilograms of cannabis stored by Indian police, according to CTV News.
What? There's a lot of really high rats in India right now. They're small animals and they are scared of the police. That came up in court in the city of Mathura after hearing that local police were unable to furnish almost 200 kilograms of confiscated cannabis that was supposed to be used as evidence in a recent case. Oh my goodness. Court documents said that the police had been asked to provide 386 kilograms of cannabis, but the prosecution flagged to the court that more than 700 kilograms of cannabis stored in the various stations across the Mathura could be impacted by the rat infestation. So they had it for evidence, and the rats got it.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time that something like this has come up.
Yeah.
It's happened before. There was a story a couple of years ago. And they say, and this was allegedly not the first time that rats had struck. The judge hearing the case cited Mathura police as blaming the rodents for destroying a total of more than 500 kilograms of cannabis that had been seized in various cases and stored at the city's Shrugroth and Highway Police Station.
Something seems a little ratty here to me.
It sure does.
What's going on? This isn't the first time it's happened. Oh, the rats got it. Oh, it was the rats again. It was really the rats, eh? Come on,
That's
they're making
right.
their bang drinks.
And they won't rat each other out.
Because they're all friends. They're sharing. Oh,
That's
my
right.
goodness. The court laid down the guidelines for the people that the police were supposed to dispose of the cannabis, saying there's a rat menace in almost all police stations. So because of the rat menace, they have to make new guidelines. Necessary arrangements need to be made to safeguard the cannabis that's been confiscated. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
However, accounts regarding the exact sequence of events that followed the rats alleged consumption of the cannabis appear a little hazy. Now, speaking after the court case, Mathura City Police Superintendent Matrin Singh says that the cannabis had been destroyed by rains and flooding and not by rats.
Oh, they didn't believe the rat tale. They didn't believe that one. So now it's the rains and the flooding. Sure. There was no reference to rats in the report. The police only mentioned that they seized cannabis was destroyed by the rains and the flooding.
If the rats are guilty as charged, they might now be taking things easy. A 2016 study by the University of British Columbia found that the main psychoactive ingredient in cannabis made lab rats lazy.
Okay. So they've taken the cannabis. The police have taken the cannabis. They've confiscated it, and then it disappeared, and so they had to blame it on rats and floods and whatever. But they're really just a bunch of really nicely buzzed policemen in India right now. I love that story.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
Exactly. Okay, up to our last story for the day.
Okay.
You know, Kelly, when it comes to cannabis businesses, we're always hearing about problems and banking, whether it's in the US, whether it's here in Canada. So we happened to find a story from the Cannabis Life Network that talks about that. And that is that Canada's Cannabis Credit Union.
Right. When you've got a cannabis
maybe this
credit
is where everybody
union
gets their money.
Maybe it is. Let's go. Nothing seems impossible when you've got a cannabis credit union. Despite Canadian cannabis legalization, banking for cannabis producers and operators is still a struggle.
Yep, that's where Community Savings Credit Union has stepped up. With 7 branches in BC, they have won two awards for the Canadian Marketing Association for Cannabis Advocacy. Specifically, they won awards for the Roll With Us marketing campaign and Does Your Bank Deliver, which compared choosing their services with choosing toppings for your pizza.
That's great. A win for the Community Savings Credit Union is a win for cannabis in Canada, with traditional bankings charging fees of 5,000% higher for cannabis-related businesses. This is where it helps to have a cannabis credit union in your corner. Certainly.
5,000% higher. Wow. The president and CEO of Community Savings, Mike Schilling, says there is a serious side to our campaigns that have fun with cannabis culture. We meet too many businesses in the industry that are being exploited and paying up to $5,000 more than they should for a simple account. We treat cannabis retailers like any other small business with best-in-the-class service and products. The campaign isn't only about the cannabis industry, it's about equal access to fair and affordable banking services. And they will continue to advocate for what is right and what is fair, and supporting the cannabis industry is just the beginning. Well, there you go.
I like these guys.
Yeah.
So it's asking, why don't the big banks like cannabis? Don't they like money? If they see Cannabis Credit Union, don't they say to themselves, hey, we want some of that? No, I guess not. According to Mike, the reason they don't is due to stigma. For many of the suits on Bay Street, cannabis is still the domain of biker gangs.
Ooh. Banks see cannabis as a higher risk, often making the comparison to alcohol. But breweries and distillers don't face the same kind of stigma cannabis does. A fair comparison would be how banks deal with casinos. I didn't know casinos had problems with banks.
I would have never thought that they did. But I
Yeah.
mean, Molson can take an entire building and make it for basketball or for a concert. They alcohol don't have any issues when it comes to that. But when it comes to cannabis, you could never call the
Yeah.
Sky Dome, change the Sky Dome into a pot leaf or something like that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not fair.
exactly.
Nothing
Yeah.
is fair on any of the sides. So I would be surprised if the casinos
You know,
were
like
there.
yeah, it's like the Budweiser stage, the
That's
Bud
what
stage at
they
Ontario.
would never allow that. They would never allow that. The
Yeah,
Tokyo
exactly.
Smoke Stage or something. They would be like,
Mhm.
no, that's cannabis. We can't have you there.
Yeah. They say, and if you do manage to get a cannabis related bank account, expect fees upwards of $500 per month compared to $50 per month, which is the average cost of a corporate account.
What? Yeah. Until banks come to their senses, Canada's cannabis industry may rely on credit unions. Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah. Yeah. Banking is fundamental to businesses. Sure is. While credit unions like Community Savings Credit Union have stepped up overall, there is a limit to what a credit union can do for your business.
That said, the awards won by the Community Savings Credit Union highlight that there is money to be made in helping out cannabis producers and retailers. Absolutely.
Yep. Large banks would be wise to treat the legal cannabis industry like any other legal sector, or perhaps, especially after freezing the bank accounts of people peacefully protesting on what the rest of us should be getting out of the traditional banking and patronizing credit unions instead.
There we go.
Yeah. So there you go. That's where people are getting their money for the cannabis industry, a cannabis credit union.
Okay. I'm in.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, I know businesses even had a problem getting an Interact machine.
Of course. Yep. Yeah. I'm really
Well, it's-
lucky I didn't put cannabis in the name of my business, or I probably wouldn't have got the accounts that I had or insurance or anything.
Yeah.
Green Lounge, but if it had been Kelly's Cannabis Lounge, I would have been tanked long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Like I was surprised. I found out, a couple of years ago that even the large licensed producers were having problems with
Yep.
banks.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
wow. They've got all this billions of dollars worth of stuff. And
They're on
bank-
the stock market. They're exchanging on the stock market, and they're having
Yeah.
issues in Canada getting a bank account. I don't know.
I just found it crazy.
Yeah.
So, well, there you go,
There
Rev
you go.
Kelly.
There you go.
We've got we're ahead of ourselves by a few minutes, but that's fine. We can
Okay.
control that.
That's okay. We're good. We're ahead of
good,
ourselves.
exactly.
We've had some
That's
good
right.
stories today.
Yes, exactly. Now, what you got coming up this week? Rest of this week?
I've got all the shows on KGL TV, but I'm hoping that you're going to come to our Nug Swap vendor market on December 10th in Keene, Ontario. Are you going to come to that? Maybe.
I have that written down on
Yes.
my planner, and
Okay.
I spoke to my friend last night about coming up with me, my friend Ken,
Okay.
and he's talking about joining me
Okay.
on that day. I told him
gonna be
Nug
so
Swap was going on. I says, it's not just Nug Swap. Who knows? You may have something that you don't need, and somebody might need that something that you have. And you
Absolutely.
can swap. Let's say like a air pump for your resi for a water pump for your resi. Who knows?
Absolutely. And that's what we say. Bring anything that's cannabis related. Bring anything that's cannabis related. Hey, you know what? People have brought psychedelics before too, so we can say that now too.
Oh.
Bring anything that's cannabis or psychedelic related.
Really?
Swap
Well,
it yourself.
I'm really happy to see like you're holding this place in the art center or something in Keene.
The Keene Center for the Arts, yeah. And they're letting us have a consumption space outside. They're letting us set up 20 vendors inside, and some of them have cannabis products. So it's really nice.
Wow.
Yeah, Keene Center of the Arts is letting us have a full out cannabis market. Yeah.
Nice. I don't know what the weather projection is for that day.
It's going to be
But
nice and warm, clear blue
nice,
skies. Yep.
nice and warm. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, so vendors will be inside.
Vendors will be
People can
inside.
come
20 of them.
inside.
Come on
and
in. And if you are a member of Kelly's Green Lounge, or if you have the
Yeah.
secret password, which is KGL, so I'm telling everybody now, use that secret password, you come in for free.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. KGL. Remember
Yeah.
that.
KGL.
Just so you know, the weather looks sunny for that day right now.
Okay, they know already. It's only November. The secret time machine people know what it's going to be like on December 10th.
Yes.
Okay, we're in. Okay.
We're in. There's only 2 days left of this month, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's say it's gonna be pretty good.
Okay.
Weather-wise
It's going to
for
be
you.
great.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I'm gonna come for sure. And you got a music thing and an art thing going on at the same time.
Band coming at nighttime. We're going to be doing painting and puffing on the stage. So, yeah, it's a big event. We're going to roast some chestnuts in a fire outside. Just all kinds of things. There's going to be people on stilts walking around. No, I'm just kidding, Al, but that would be fun.
No, that was the kind summer fair with the stilts.
That's right.
Yeah, the lady that had the big yellow suit on.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I was just going through my photos on my phone and I saw that, so that's how I remember that one. All right, anything else?
That's it. Have a great day.
All right. From the Legacy420.com news desk, that's our PACE news report for November the 28th, 2022. Thanks to our buds at the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop and Legacy420.com. And in closing, we'd like to say thank you for watching. Plus, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.